Welcome to Upfront. I'm Mary Ruth Snyder. We have very special guests today from We Can Shelter. Charlene and Dave are joining us from the Comox Valley. Welcome to the Campbell River studio.
Thanks for having us on, Mary Beth.
Now, before we get into what We Can Shelter actually does and is, I'd like to get just a little bit of background on the two of you so that we understand where you started and how on earth you ended up where you are today, because this is an extraordinary story. So Dave, let's start with you. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in a small community in Alberta, a farming community called Mundare, Alberta. Population 500 people.
Nice.
So it was a very vibrant community, still is. Lots of agriculture. I was the person who said my calling was more so in the way of business and communications and broadcasting, and that's kind of where I started at that point. So I graduated from school and then decided to go into the broadcasting industry. So I worked in radio and television for probably 26 years. Went from being on air, doing all sorts of different jobs, from news to sports, a little bit of television. And then one day it was the sales industry that called my name, and I went into sales and worked in sales for many, many years in media, and then started my old consultancy business, which eventually brought me here to Vancouver Island because I thought, what a wonderful place to be.
Now, did you do post-secondary, or were you one of the lucky ones that went right from high school into the industry? Back in the day where you could do that.
Yes, there was a time you could actually get away with that.
Yes.
And I did go through a little bit of post-secondary, but not a lot, and just managed to be in the right place at the right time and start in a small town, Peace River, Alberta, doing the midnight show as a DJ.
Nice.
And then you kind of progress as you learn different things.
Of course.
You know, and then having your hand at, whether it be on air as a DJ or perhaps in news or television sports, I was always the guy who wanted to learn and grow and do different things.
What was your favorite, radio or television?
I would say, I equally love both because they have so much to offer.
Oh, that's such a diplomatic
Yes,
answer.
well, diplomacy is something that I probably have worked at. I love the radio business simply because radio touches so much of our lives, and television is great. At the same time, too, you've got the visual element. Of course, the opportunities in radio have always been a little bit more robust simply because there were more radio stations than TV stations.
Right.
Right. And then, doing a little bit of television sports where, admittedly, I lucked into that job because it was the dream job. Every time I tell anyone who's a sports fanatic that I was a TV sportscaster, they're like, you had the dream job. And the funny thing about it is I wasn't necessarily a sports fan.
I was just going to ask, did you follow any teams in particular yourself? Or
I immersed myself
in
as much as I could because I felt if I'm going to do this, I have to learn about it and be good at it, right, at that point. And then, that was in Red Deer, Alberta. And then I went to Edmonton to a major market radio station.
Yep.
And worked there for about 4 or 5 years. And then, as I say, the sales industry started calling my name. And I started to use all of the skills that I had built up in broadcasting to be able to relate to people and solve business problems for business people. So in a way, there's a total common denominator amongst everything.
Now, when you were in sales, did you stay in the media sales or did you move into more business sales?
Great question. I did all kinds of different sales. I was the type A personality who always wanted to try the toughest sales jobs. So my first sales job was selling life insurance, door to door, for London Life many years ago.
I growing up, I can remember as a teenager that all of a sudden my mom and dad sat me down and they said, oh, when you were like 6 months old, we got you this London Life policy, because that was the main insurer back then.
Yes, it was. They had a product called Freedom 55 that was very, very, very popular. So my job there was to definitely go door to door, ringing doorbells at a time when that was, probably more of the accepted way of selling life insurance. And I learned a lot of great things. I learned that, tough job, but a character building job.
Yep.
And then I sold real estate for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And private career training. And then at one point, my dream always was to be a sales trainer and a business consultant.
Okay.
So then I became self-employed about 13 years ago.
Okay.
And when I started that, I thought I would like to actually be on Vancouver Island to do that because it's a beautiful place. And I did a lot of my training and still do online. So it facilitates having a client base that can be pretty much anywhere.
Sure.
Because through web conferencing, I can do so much
Absolutely.
from my own studios at home.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's how you ended up in Vancouver Island. Now, are you based in the Comox Valley?
I'm based in the Comox Valley, most definitely. I do have clients kind of throughout Canada. However, as you know, I get into my 60s, I think to myself, I really like to be on the island. I don't like to leave the island. It's too beautiful to leave. So I work with a lot of local clients at the same time too, and really enjoy that because small business is such a core of employment and so many different things that make the community vibrant.
Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that background.
Thank you.
Now, Charlene, where were your beginnings?
Oh, okay. Before I tell you the whole story of my very checkered career path, let me just say I've tried everything and done nothing well. All right. Absolutely nothing. I was not born and raised, but I was raised more or less in Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
And Dave and I have a connection that was not made until we met him through Weekend Shelter.
Oh, okay.
It started way back when I went through Columbia School of Broadcasting. You remember those guys?
Whoa. Okay. That's all right. Yep.
Which is where you get your degree online.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you try to get a job with that.
Yeah.
I actually wound up out at Fort McMurray when GCOS was building the facilities out there for extracting whatever.
Yes.
And I got a job on the radio out there. And that was the Wild West. Absolutely. Columbia School, here's the keys, start here, kind of thing. And the first thing I was on Sunday morning, all by myself in this studio, never having looked even at a tape recorder before. And they said, okay, play this tape, for this reel to reel for this half hour. And there was the Back to God and Back to Bible hour. All right. So I did my intro, got that going. Okay, good. This is great. Everything's working really good. I keep my mic open the whole time, so I'm yapping with my mother on the long distance line. Nobody's listening. Okay, that was the good thing about that. So then you flip over in the half hour between the Back to God and Back to Bible hour. I say something like, "Oh crap," only not using those words. And I realized I'm not really cut out for broadcasting at this point. So at any rate, that all fizzled out the way it should. I can tell you more stories about that, but they would curl your hair. And then I moved to Calgary. We sort of graduated out of the Wild West of the tar sands building days. And I got a job. I tried out. I was the first class of 2 of females to go through police training as a female, right?
Okay.
Before that, women were on the force, but they were on specified duties. They were doing women's cells. They were doing truancy, they were doing juveniles, that kind of stuff, but not as full class constables. So we were the 2 that me and the other lady were chosen for this class were the first 2 that got full pay, full opportunities, all that kind of stuff. And that was a bit of a pioneer days as well. That was the especially for women. And I did that for about 5 years, realized one way or another I was going to get killed at this job. I'd been shot at, stabbed, and all kinds of other things. I thought, maybe I'm not cut out for this either. So I moved back to Edmonton and decided to go to law school.
Okay.
Met my third husband at that time. And so I get into law school, everything's going well, and then I get pregnant. And I don't do pregnancy and law school really well, so I drop out, have the baby, then a year and a half later, go back into law school, get pregnant again, and realize that law school causes pregnancy, and I only wanted 2 kids. So that was the end of that phase as well. So then what do I do as now a single mom? Because that seems to be the thing. And what do I do? And so I volunteered at Shaw Cable doing community television. So that's kind of where I started on doing television stuff. And then did a bunch of shows that were really fun, sliding through the mud in places and antique cars. You did what you did in those days, right? Yeah. And they were really interesting and fun and out there kind of stuff. And that graduated into a job with CFRN doing live television every day. So I did Monday to Friday, half an hour, that show.
Yep.
And that eventually, my family at the time was trying to move into this business, so we started this business together, and we started a business called Davis Airfield Fiber Optic, and we built fiber optic signs for international airports all across North America. And that
Can
was
you explain what that is?
yeah, they're the road signs for pilots. Airside means
okay.
not on the airport side or
Right.
whatever the passenger side. So they're on
Right.
the tarmac, and they show
okay.
the pilots around with
Yes.
aprons,
Yeah.
runways, taxiways, all that kind of stuff.
Got
they're,
it.
They're the road,
Okay.
and you see them in every airport. You
Yes.
just never notice them.
Right.
Who notices this stuff? Nobody. Okay, so I do that for a number of years and realized that after I built my 2000 sign, I was bored and decided to run for politics in Edmonton. And I ran in the first ward, and I did fairly well. I had a really good campaign manager who raised so much money that they made new rules about how much these guys could do. So my signs were
Was
everywhere.
it municipal or
Yeah,
provincial?
yeah,
Municipal.
municipal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where is Ward 1 in Edmonton?
It's the West End.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
And so and that's kind of there's 250,000 people at that time lived in the West End.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you talk about local politics and stuff like that, it puts everything in perspective. The whole Comox Valley is what, 82,000 people? That's about,
Sure.
I think that was the last number I looked up, and
Yeah.
I could be wrong. At any rate, it puts everything in a different kind of perspective.
Okay.
So I did not get elected, but I tried to get into the farmers market so I could talk to more people. They wouldn't let me in without a product. My husband and I had started on the South Beach Diet or some downtroll thing, and I was making granola. And so I brought my granola so that if you didn't want to talk to me about politics, I could sell you some cereal. Yeah, makes perfect sense, does it not?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah. And so I didn't get elected, but the granola took off and eventually wound up selling to Costco, and away it went. So then my husband and I decided we were going to retire. We moved on to our sailboat. We bought a sailboat in the Caribbean, and that was quite the experience, considering I didn't know a dinghy from a doormat, kind of thing when we started.
And you went from living in a home to living on a sailboat.
Yeah.
That's the epitome of downsizing.
Well, as a matter of fact, we kept our home, and we bought a home actually in Florida, thinking we would stage the things and stuff like that. And then we had our home in Edmonton that we didn't sell right away. So we had 3 homes, basically. And so I'm still trying to get rid of my third rice maker, kind of thing. It's just you have a whole home everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So it's a silly process, but that lasted a good 6 years, to the point where I said, all we're doing is waiting for parts in exotic places. I'm done. And he kind of said, yeah, I think we've shot this one. And he did not want to move back to Alberta. I did. My whole family was there. And he said, no, we tried this Vancouver Island thing. So we got out in Vancouver Island, and within, I'm going to say, within 2 to 6 months, I'm saying, I miss my family. I don't want to be here. I want to go back to Edmonton. And my realtor said, oh, we're going to lose her. And she folded me into their coffee group, and I got invitations to go places, and I wasn't so lonely. And then the whole story unraveled after that. We've stayed there. We've made a home. We've got great friends, and we're not leaving the Comox Valley. So that's how that went. Now, when I started this, there was another crossover, because I met Dave one day at the CCAN, and he said he was from Edmonton, yada yada. And I said, oh, my daughter worked for that. And he said, oh, he went, oh, and I went, yeah. It was my daughter that was the one that I said, she's a great person and she does really well in her job right now, but she was never built for radio sales. And I just apologized to him. So he and I we've had a crossover for some time now.
Yeah.
And that's
awesome.
the story. There we are up to today.
So now, where did the idea come for We Can Shelter?
When I became president of the Comox Rotary Club, the mandate is, as a president in training, that you make the year your own.
Yes.
The Comox Rotary Club itself had been a group of builders. They had built a number of things across, all around the Comox Valley, the fish ladders, you name it. There's just a whole bunch of things that they did.
Right.
So at the time, homelessness was just starting to rear its ugly head. And shipping containers were becoming de rigueur in terms of building small homes.
Okay.
So I said, okay, to the club, in my complete ignorance and hubris, never having built anything before, I said, we're going to build 4 houses. And they went, there was a lot of, oh yeah, right. But as it turned out, that we might have made that, but COVID hit. And that halted everything in its tracks, right? We at that point we built 3 in my year as president instead of 4.
And what is it that you like? Were they actual like tiny homes? Were they houses, or is that when you actually brought in the sea cans?
We started with shipping containers right off the bat.
You started with shipping containers, okay?
Thinking that they were mobile,
Yep.
they were portable, they were indestructible.
Yep.
They were going to service a population that was probably going to hard use them, and
Yep.
we were going to set about making them as absolutely skookum as possible. And the
Okay.
number one solution for homelessness universally is housing first.
Correct.
There will nobody argue with you
Yep.
about that. So we started to build them, and they have. Do you want the description of what the houses are like?
Well, first I was going to ask, like, when you were like on that path, had you heard about any other municipality in North America doing that? Like, there's been a lot of
heavens, no.
examples, but not about the sea can.
No.
So you guys were the first here to
Yeah.
do the sea can.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, most definitely. There
Okay.
was nobody else doing something like this, and most people
Okay.
said you're out of your mind, you know, and not
Okay.
knowing how much it would cost. I said, oh, they're gonna be $20,000. I threw a thing at the dartboard. It cost us 19,000, something like that, to do that with all the donations and stuff for the
Wow.
first one. So yes, it's since changed. That number
Yeah.
has changed, but yeah, we were right on. We were spot on.
So are you ordering like new sea cans and then cutting in the holes for the windows and the doors, or do they come already prepped like that, or like what?
Yeah. No,
what's the
shipping
process?
Shipping containers have become, at one time they were ubiquitous. You could get them for a song. They were trying to get rid of them.
Yeah.
China was shipping goods over here. They didn't want to ship the empty ones back.
Of
It was
course.
more expensive. It was just a glut of these things on the market. Then COVID hit. The shipping container manufacturer in China stopped working for 6 or 8 months. The containers started to have appeal to the architectural groups and housing groups for small homes, which were also starting to become more and more popular.
Right.
And so now all of a sudden, shipping containers are not quite as accessible, not quite as easy to find. So we have settled on, we buy a shipping container, and I used to source them out myself, but now we've got another group that's a welder that does that. He has access to a better trap line than I do. And what he does, he cuts the doors and the windows, puts the drip caps on, does it, puts supports for services and stuff like that in for us. Paints them, and then they land on our step where we do our build. We finish them.
So where are you putting them?
Maple Pool Campground is where we're putting them right at the moment, and that's a whole story by itself. But Maple Pool Campground is pretty much right in town. It's a very good location in terms, is it in Courtney or in
Comox?
Courtney?
It's in Courtney.
Yeah,
okay.
It's in Courtney.
And is it on the east side or the other side? Which side of the bridge is it on? Is it downtown by the Cliff Avenue, or is it up near the Home Depot?
It's towards, not even, you're going the wrong direction. You just follow the river along, the Puntledge River, and it's essentially, where the Jeep Dodge dealership is? Headquarters Road.
Okay,
out that way.
Yeah, so it's, okay, got it.
Right,
Yep.
right by the exhibition grounds and stuff like that.
Right, so, okay, got it. I was just trying to get a geographical place for people to visualize, that's all.
Yeah.
So exhibition grounds, everybody knows where that is.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
And the people who own that campground have always taken a very caring attitude towards people who are destitute and difficult, and they have a lot of people there who live there for many, many years who are borderline. They're they're housing insecure and all the rest of it.
Who are the people that run that campground?
The people that own it are Jin and Dolly Lin.
That's what I thought. We actually have done stories with Jin over the last 15 years, so
she's fabulous.
Very familiar with Jin. Yeah,
she is
wonderful.
absolutely fabulous, and she's turned that place from its previous reputation, which was not so savory, into some place that's now safe, comfortable, and a good place for what's going on there.
Awesome.
She's been freaking. She and Dolly have been freaking amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. So that's where you're putting the containers.
Yeah.
Like they have land enough to.
They just occupy one single campsite. The shipping container occupies campsites. There's 127, I believe, campsites on that property, not all of which are serviced. 57 of them have power, water, sewer kind of thing. The rest, some have power and water, but some of them are just tent sites. But there are 120 some actual campsites out there.
And up to today, how many actual shipping container houses have you now put in that?
There are 11
space?
occupied,
11,
and we've got number 12 is set to go in less than 2 weeks, kind
Great.
of thing. We have to put a deck on and cover and stuff like that, so they expand
Nice.
the living space and stuff like that. They're really pretty.
That's
Really-
fabulous.
yeah,
What color have you painted the outsides?
every color under the rainbow.
Oh, okay, so
We're
it's
doing something-
multicolored.
Yes.
Excellent,
But this
okay.
one coming out is hot pink.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then is it a true one bedroom? Like, does it have a separation for the bed, or is it a studio space?
Yeah, you probably call it more like a studio space,
Okay.
but it has a bathroom on one end that has
Yep.
a shower and a toilet, and then a kitchenette with a sink,
Yep.
with a fridge and some kind of cooking apparatus, hot water heater, baseboard heater, front door, a sleeping platform. We have room designed for their television or whatever it is, that kind of stuff. A little seating area.
Great.
They're very pretty. They're very,
Yeah.
very pretty. IKEA cabinets.
Nice.
And the deck usually expands some distance. Sometimes some of them now have the entire length of the 20 feet, and cover over part of it, so they have extended living space right
Of
there.
course,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're really nice.
That is awesome. Now, what is your goal in terms of, like, have you come up with a goal of how many you want to build a year, or like, is
Well,
it
we're
all
always
depends
trying
on
to streamline
funds, or
process, right? We're always
Okay.
trying to get better at what we're doing, find
Right.
more, get other donations, get other contributors, get other volunteers. We're always trying to find ways to do it better, more cheaply, and as much as we can.
Yep.
And that being said, the long-term goal, and it's not necessarily reflective of the entire weekend shelter, is my own personal goal. Is I would like to buy the Maple Pool campground and turn it into a complete container village that would have on-site drug and alcohol treatment facility,
Right.
and possibly an urgent care center kind
Yep,
of thing, and
great.
right on site kind of thing for that.
Yeah.
That's my
Awesome.
my dream.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to spread the thought of that elsewhere, but we need a lot of money to do
Mm-hmm.
that. So at the moment, it is just my dream.
And so, as that dream is unfolding, do you have an agreement with Jen and Lynn as to how many containers you can put on the campsites that are there existing?
We don't have an agreement per se. What it has been up till now, there's been a vacancy and we've taken it. There's been a death and we've taken it.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so there are a number of permanent residents in their own vehicles that are going to stay there, kind of
Okay.
thing. So that's why the other thing is we've kind of maxed ourselves out. We're almost at the point where we're maxing ourselves out. No, we will be waiting for someone to occupy a spot to put our things. And now
Okay.
we have to start rethinking how we're going to rejig that process. We may
Okay.
have to move elsewhere. But we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, so it sounds like it's a really big organization, but is it just the two of you that are running this show? Like, what?
Okay, we have a board of directors with 7 people on it.
Okay.
and
Is it a
that-
working board?
Yeah,
Okay.
we meet 4 or 5 times a year, and everybody. The thing is about the board is that the people that come onto it are tasked with developing their own job.
Right.
You know,
Great.
What is your focus? What do you want to do? Tell
Yeah.
us how you'll make that fit for us, and we just hands off. Like we
Yeah.
just come together and say, this is what we've done, kind of thing.
Awesome.
It's really collaborative,
Good.
very, very friendly.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
nice.
And then we have a core group of volunteers, which is a revolving door to some extent. You know, people
Right.
come and they go and they do their best and that kind of stuff. But at the moment, we've developed a really strong core that seems to like coming out every Saturday. And part of the jig is that every Saturday after they're finished building from 9 till noon at Maple Pool Campground, and anybody's welcome. That's my little plug. Sorry to slip that in there.
No. That's why you're here.
That we bring lunch in, and then we
Okay.
sit around and talk and become, a more friendly,
Yep.
cohesive group kind of stuff.
Nice.
And so, yeah, it's actually, the formula is working.
Okay. So we are almost out of time. I know
Darn.
that is shocking. So if people want to volunteer, how would they get in touch with you?
They can go through Facebook, Weekend Shelter, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One of the things that we really promote and have a lot of fun with is our Facebook group. Okay. So what we do is every Saturday, as Charlene mentioned, from 9 to noon. My job is to record video and then produce videos. And so if you go to Facebook, if people are interested in donating, please do. We welcome that wholeheartedly.
And you're a registered charity, is like
100%.
a nonprofit registered charity.
Exactly.
Nationally registered.
Which means that any donation that people make, they will definitely get a tax receipt.
Yep.
We're very happy to say that we have a partner for the month of October.
Nice.
Where Coastwood Private Wealth in Comox is matching all donations.
Wonderful.
In the month of October, up to $5,000. So if
Awesome.
anyone can spare a few dollars, no amount is too small. If you go to our Facebook group, you'll see the Canada Helps link that's there.
Okay.
And
Do
you'll
you
also
have a
see the
website?
videos.
Because not everybody has Facebook.
We don't have a website. We're
Okay.
jawing back and forth about that. We do get a lot of traction out of our Facebook page and feel that we want every ounce of the money that goes into our organization to go towards building something. And so we've been very judicious about not doing things like purchasing a website, et cetera, et cetera. But that may have to change.
Okay.
Canada Helps, though. You can go on Canada Helps. That's
And
us.
you guys are listed on Canada
We
Helps.
sure are.
Okay, that's very okay, because that is a national website. Because there are individuals that just don't have Facebook, so I wanted to make sure that they could get to you somehow.
Yep.
Right.
For those that don't. Okay, and you have some events coming up. We're down to the last 1 minute. So what do you want to bring people's attention to?
I would say the big thing is to either visit our Facebook page. We are very happy to have 40 Knots Winery holding an event for us on Sunday, October 20th.
Nice.
Which is 40K for them. So it's a fundraiser where people can cycle 40 kilometers, walk 10 kilometers, or even walk a 1 kilometer all accessibility route.
Okay.
So the tickets are $60 and all net proceeds go to weekend shelters. So that is a fundraiser that we do, and we welcome anyone who wants to have more information to be able to come out Saturday to 9 to noon and just see what we do. And
Awesome.
we're always looking for volunteers.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing your personal journeys with us. What wild rides the two of you have had since the beginning, and I congratulate you on this amazing organization that you have founded and that you're working with. And if anybody out there would like to volunteer their time, again, you can join them at the Maple Pool Campground in Courtenay on Saturdays between 9 and noon. Check out their Facebook page or go to Canada Helps, right? CanadaHelps.ca, and you can search for them and make your donation. Please check them out, and thank you so much for joining us for this issue of Up Front. We'll see you again.